What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the RTB Eagles Show. Instant reaction post game. The Eagles win a thriller in New Orleans down in Nola, 15-12. The game did not go the way the majority thought this was going to go. Even if you had the Eagles, winning this game, most thought that you're looking at a high 20s, low 30s type scoring performance out there from either team. We got none of that. The Eagles defeat the New Orleans Saints 15-12. And man, I don't even know how to come up with the words to this game. I think it was the Eagles winning, despite one of the most poorly coached offensive games I've seen in a very long time out of the human detriment of a football team, Nick Sirianni. But without AJ Brown, without a whole second half of Devontae Smith, Jalen Carter, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert, even Brandon Graham helped push this team to a 15-12 victory. Johnny Max here, Brad's here. Thank you to those two, by the way, for coming on here for the pregame show. Huge shout out to you two guys here. But John, I'm going to start with you, and then I'm going to go to Brad. Man, this was not the game we all thought, John, but the Eagles somehow, man, I mean, it's there when you're an Eagles fan, it's not without just immense drama. 15-12, dude. What's your first thought of this one?
It showed how much more talented, the Eagles are than majority of football teams. That's what really came down to because they were coached. It was just they're so bad situationally that it gives you a headache sometimes. Like, how do you not kick the first field goal at halftime? You go to halftime, you're getting the ball back anyways. How do you not kick that? Then coming out of half, how do you not kick the next field goal? No, that was in a different part. Later, how do you kick? Was it? No, it was that, right? They don't kick that field goal, they go for a fourth down again. And then how do you,
right.
And then you kick that 61
and then
yard
you
field
kick
goal.
The 60-yarder and give them good field position. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
In that situation where they, they only need 3 points and there's about 6 minutes left on the clock, they could easily burn that 6 minutes, off the clock, and just kick a game-winning field goal there, or you put you in an even worse situation where you have to go down and score a touchdown, which thank God they did. But it's really, really bad situationally, and that's what it really came down to. Because I said before the game, somebody else besides Smith, and Barkley really had to have a game. You had to make up that ground, and it seemed Dallas Goedert was that guy today. He had an unbelievable game. And the defense, for a defense that was atrocious the first 2 weeks against the run, they were barely throwing the ball. And even today, I saw at one point, I think we were, almost halfway through the third quarter, even maybe in the fourth quarter, where I think Derek Carr had it was 8 for 15, something like that.
They weren't 70 passing yards. Yeah,
they were not throwing the football. They were committed to the run. They just could not get anything started. I mean, that just shows how Vic Fangio, how smart of a defensive guy is, because he completely changed and revamped how this defense is run. He had Vaughn lining up outside every single time to they were trying to guess which side New Orleans wanted to run the football to, and they were putting Vaughn out there because obviously majority of these guys couldn't play, right. and they were it looked like they were running I don't know what I can't tell you exactly what it was, but they were playing. It was in that 5-man front pass rush where they were putting Brandon Graham in as that extra defensive tackle. They were having 3 defensive tackles in there to somehow prevent guys like Sweat and guys like Huff and Nolan Smith, the guys who have been struggling lately, trying to stop the run, and when they're just bouncing everything to the outside, and that helped tremendously prevent them from actually successfully running the football outside. And then credit to Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, who had both of them. I mean, Davis Carter obviously had the much better game, but Davis, he shredded that one block and got back there fast for that sack.
Huge sack.
In the game.
Yep. Zach Vaughn had 9 tackles.
Yep. Yeah. Dean was all over the place too. I mean, he was getting a lot of assists, but he was there just clogging the holes and something. At least putting a little bit of hit on that guy. And somebody else was picking that up. Carter had 4 tackles, 2 tackles for losses, 2 pat downs. Jordan Davis, he had a sack. He had a tackle for a loss, 4 tackles from him as well. I mean, they all around. They did. Quinion Mitchell, he came up with some huge
Yep.
plays throughout the trip. I
Darius
mean,
Slay had a huge play in the end zone.
Darius Slay, and
Yep.
he got hurt because I'm not sure, that next play that they attacked Ringo with Olave. Ringo was on him. I'm not sure that might not happen because they held those receivers in check when they had time when they were throwing the football. They weren't seeing many opportunities. So that's a shame he went down. I hope it's just a concussion. I haven't really seen what came across what his injury was, but something happened where that guy obviously blocked him all the way into the bench for God knows whatever reason.
Two
And that
scumbag plays from the Saints today.
He did it last week too.
Yeah, he did the same thing last week. I don't know what it was, but I mean, I thought the defense. This is a defense that I thought was going to be horrible all year, and even Jason said it to us earlier. Like it was a defense that or who's someone. No, maybe my dad said to me, "There's a defense that just couldn't afford to be bad all year and get better by the end of the day. They had to do something quick, and they obviously did. And next week, which is a shame, I think they're going to get the short over across the middle because of the way they're playing this defense. The Saints' game plan was to run the ball and cut the ball to the outside the entire game, and the Eagles limited that, so they didn't have a game plan for to go to attack the middle. The Bucs are going to have a game plan to go over attack the middle this next week, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens that way. Maybe the defensive backs are just good enough. Maybe we have good
the
enough
Broncos
backs.
figured it out today. The Broncos destroyed Tampa Bay.
So maybe the Eagles' defensive backs are just good enough to where they can run that style of of a pass rush, a different type of pass rush than they were running because they weren't going after them and with the normal 4 guys. They were doing stuff differently to try to prevent them from rushing the ball and getting after the passer, which they had car under pressure every time we started the football. They were all didn't end up with many sacks, but they had him under pressure and they were hitting him around and they were forcing him to throw the ball. And there was a couple of times where he just threw them to the ground or had bad passes because they're putting pressure. And that's what you need to do against quarterbacks like Derek Carr, where he's not going to kill you with his legs. You need to just get pressure on him, and he's going to make mistakes somewhere out there.
Yeah,
Porter had 2 deflections too.
Yes, he did. He was all over the place. Brad, what was your thoughts on this game? Again, I don't remember what your pregame predictions were from both of you, but I know you guys both, I think, had the Eagles losing this game. We all did. All 3 of us
I
did.
had it in closer. You guys had it in blowouts. I had it in closer fashion.
I think I said 35-21.
Okay, so what was your outlook on this one?
Well, in the beginning, I don't think they looked good, but like the defense was fine.
Yes.
Vaughn has now, since he had 9 tackles today, he has 34 tackles in just 3 games.
Yeah.
Like he's snapping, and like our defensive line looked really good, especially Carter had 2 deflections.
Yeah. That the defense
Gardner
was the story.
Yeah, it was 100%. And Barkley, obviously, he did his thing again.
Yeah, it goes defense and then situational football offensively because that was really I mean the Hurts throw. I don't think, in my opinion, that pick. That was bad play design for Devontae Smith because they try to treat him like he's A.J. Brown because that's a ball that A.J. Brown probably catches, and it's probably not a pick if A.J. Brown's in there. But you put a guy small like that for a situational like that has to be designed for Goddard, like somebody like that. It's a big body wide receiver.
You're right.
That was poor play design. And it was a poor throw. He shouldn't have threw that ball knowing that Smith's that guy in that situation where you can't really throw a jump ball to Smith. I know he's how good he is and stuff, but he can't be a jump ball one-on-one jump ball situation for that one. That was just a bad throw. And the fumble, he fumbled because he was trying to still look down the field to make a throw before he started running.
You got to protect the ball.
And
you got to have the awareness.
He just didn't protect the ball there, and that's what happened on that fumble. And they were just 2 poor situational footballs offensively, which you can coach out of a player. That has to do with coach. When Mahomes, he goes off script and he gets a little wacky because he does the same. He does the same things Hurts does at times where he gets wacky and he throws stupid plays and throws stupid picks. But he has a great offensive mind, Andy Reid, who reels them in and gets and coach that because the reason why he wasn't the number 1 pick going into the draft is because he did this in college. He was a guy who was just careless with the football and was just a gunslinger. He had the talent was all there, but he just made stupid things and got a little wacky and crazy with the football and tried to do things that you normally don't see. But that became the problem. With Hurts right now is he's not protecting football. You can coach that out of somebody, and they're not coaching it out of him right now.
Yeah, I hope Devontae's good too.
Yeah, he's gonna be fine. I think Devontae will be fine because he got hit in the back. It wasn't a straight blow to the head, but it was the whip back that gave him the concussion. I'm assuming.
It was a dirty play. It was a dirty play. That's all it was. The Eagles defense was the story. They forced 4 punts today. They had that game-stealing interception from Reed Blankenship. This is an offense, a Saints offense after the first 2 games of the season where, far and away the best offense in the NFL. And I mean, since Jump Street of this game, the Eagles defense was just all over the New Orleans Saints. And, if there's anyone, that we can talk about who makes adjustments week to week, Vic Fangio knows how to apparently, 1 week to the next, figure something out to get it working. Last week or on Monday night, we talked on the postgame show about, man, if the Eagles defensive line can't get to Kirk Cousins, who are they going to get to? Well, they created some significant pressure on Derek Carr today, and he struggled. I mean, he did not play well at all. Like we talked about, I think through the first half, he had like 89 passing yards. So this was a defense that was getting it done against this offense. Kamara, Alvin Kamara wasn't a huge deal. He was 26 for 87, a little over 3 yards.
They were committed to that run, and the Eagles they game planned correctly to prevent him from.
They did.
They had the game. They only averaged about 3.5 yards a carry.
3.3.
3.3. So he was ineffective in that run game. He had I think it was late into the second half where he first got that, first time he got the 10+ yards on a one single run. So they had a good game plan and it worked. So I'm now my thing is, like, are they going to get destroyed over the middle next week by Chris Godwin because they're moving so many people out of the middle of the field to prevent them from cutting runs to the outside? That's my next concern. But maybe this is the way you got to do it. Maybe this is the way the offense has to be. Maybe the secondary is good enough to where they can run it. They can run it like that because the secondary has looked very good. Besides that CJGJ play, but other than that, he played a good game. Besides that one play, he was making tackles all across the field. But that one blown coverage, I
thought he had that interception too, but he didn't.
No, that was almost what a play that was. Look, here's kind of how you have to break down part of this game as well from an offensive standpoint. They're missing 40% of their offensive line. When Lane Johnson goes down, so you add that. Devonta Smith goes out of the game. Of course, A.J. Brown was already out of the game. And then, finally, after 3 weeks, Dallas Goedert becomes a very, very integral part of this offense. And, he has the 61-yard catch down at the 4-yard line that basically sealed the game for the Eagles because then Saquon, Nick Sirianni actually ran the ball this time to Saquon Barkley for the touchdown, then the 2-point conversion.
You have to run every single play there. Every single play you run.
You have to run. Exactly.
Every play.
And this comes after Nick Sirianni makes one bizarre call after the next all game. And look, I'm going to stand by this because, again, I think the Eagles won despite the head coach. I think he's a venomous, poisonous snake to this franchise. And I think he's awful. I think he's undefendable, if that's even a word. I'm going to make it up. He's undefendable. There's nothing anybody can tell me that makes Nick Sirianni the right guy for this job. He again.
Somehow wins football games, man. That's the issue right now. He just somehow comes away with
victories.
Today he did. Last week he did it, but even throughout his career, he's coming away with victory. So it's really hard to get rid of it. And I know it's frustrating. That's the only defense for him right now is he's coming away with victories. And I don't know if that's in spite of him. It seems like it's in spite of him at this point, but it's really hard to get rid of a coach when he's still winning football games. Even though he's making these blunderous decisions like. Why are you not kicking the two? Why, especially the one at halftime? Why are you not kicking that ball at halftime? You're getting the football back.
It's 4th and 1. You're getting the ball back. Why do you not just kick?
And they're not going to run a play. They're going to just.
They're not going to run a play.
Yeah, correct. It's going to be what they're going to have 10 seconds left. They're not running a play. They're kneeling the football, and it's just a weird decision why they're not doing it. I made the joke, maybe he had Jake Elliott in fantasy football today or something. It was something weird, like where he's playing against them or something, or just something. It was one of those weird situations. But I don't know. I mean, you go from here, you go to next week. Hopefully you can pull out another win. The Bucs looked human this week after playing 2 really, really good games the first 2 weeks, and they got beat up by the Broncos out of all teams who really didn't look like a good football team the first couple of weeks, but they held their own against the Bucs this week. So. It's another winnable football game. I'm sure it's going to be in the same situation. I'm sure the Bucs will probably be favored, I would assume, right? You would think. They're playing there.
It's in Tampa Bay, right?
It's in Tampa. The last 2 times.
Probably going to be one of those 2.5-point spreads.
Yeah, because, you got to think about it.
So it's a toss-up.
Last 2 times Hurts played there, they've lost pretty bad. Todd Bowles seems to be the guy who has Jalen Hurts' number. He just somehow knows how to scheme against them. I'm not sure why a lot of teams aren't doing the same exact thing. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting going into next week. But the defense just has to do the same thing. You gotta they're probably still, I think they'll probably still try to run the football a lot, but then I'm scared that they are gonna game plan a little more for over the field. We'll see how that works out.
So
When
he
is
just
AJ supposed to come back?
who knows? He said a couple weeks. He should be able to play next week, right?
He could be back next. He could be back next week, or the following week, because obviously they didn't put him on IR, so obviously that it's going to be less than the 4-week limit, which is IR now. So,
right. All right, so let's kind of go down this a little bit and talk about it. Let's start with Jalen Hurts, guys. Obviously, the turnovers remain a huge concern. He's got 4 interceptions already, 2 of which are in the end zone. But I will say this, and I was very critical, and I still think he's somebody we need to worry about. Jalen Hurts came up huge on Sunday. He did it with almost, again, half of his offense missing. He completed 76% of his passes, 311 yards on a day where
there's still a play problem.
Of course, there's a play problem. Yes,
why? I just don't get it. Why are they still going all the way down the? Why aren't they? When does he have a success? When he throws the ball to guys over the middle. Why isn't there more routes? And then he has if I have one guy for a check down, he's usually covered majority of the time, and he can't really get much offense going that way. But why is everybody always down the football field? Why? I get the Eagles have success. See, that's their success. They make big plays. That's what led them in 2022, and that's why they went to the Super Bowl, because they were the best team in big play situations. Why are you still doing that? That's the problem last year, where they wanted to evolve the offense. It's still not evolving to an offense where those big plays can still come up with a play over the middle, like you saw with Goddard. A big play can still come up from the guy like Saquon Barkley, who we haven't had a running back who can just break one at any minute. Break one at any minute for a long touchdown like LaShawn McCoy could. That's what you have with Saquon Barkley now. Why?
Yep.
Why is that? And then now you're putting Hurts in situations where he has to go out and play hero ball and force throws because there's nobody open down the field because you're just running the ball down the field. Then he's holding the ball too long. Well, how can he? Everybody's going down the field. He has to wait for people to get developed, and he's going to hold the ball too long. And then when they're not open, what do you want? He's going to force the ball, and that's when he's going to throw his picks. And that seems like it's been the problem. And then obviously the fumble thing that's been a reoccurring thing since the Super Bowl, where he's still looking down the field at times, clearing the pocket, leaving the pocket, and he's not protecting the football in those situations by tucking it and just taking off and running it sometimes. Sometimes, it's got to be a situation where if you're being forced left to the side that you're not good at, where you commit most of your turnovers, at that point, Hurts just take off and try to get a couple yards of that thing, or throw the ball away immediately, because obviously that seems like it's a reoccurring problem where you go left, that's where you make your mistakes. So something along those lines where, if you're forced left, just take off and run. That's the one problem. Unless you can absolutely see a guy wide open, you're going to make that throw, then you just got to take off.
And I said this early in the week. I thought this was a game the Eagles really needed to win, and it was a game that Hurts really needed to win. Look, I still believe he's an elite quarterback, and it's become natural to wonder about him in the turnover issue after the first 2 games, and I understand that because I have those same issues. He wasn't very good in some key moments, but this was almost like vintage Jalen that we kind of saw at the end of the Packers game. He makes key throws at important times. He stays confident when the line's breaking down in front of him, and he rallied this team to a huge win. And if Jalen can somehow harness what we saw in this fourth quarter, John and Brad, then again, this is going to be the next step for Jalen getting back to that complete elite level. Brad, what was your thoughts on Jalen in a game where he doesn't throw a touchdown, but he did post some gaudy numbers today?
Especially the last drive with Goddard leading him up the field
like that. Great play call, great throw, perfect play.
It's essential. And then I think I texted you guys in the thing, and I said the only negative I can think of is just the awareness. He was trying to run out of the pocket. He didn't know someone was behind him.
Yep.
That's when he fumbled the ball.
Yeah.
But it's the only thing I can think of that's minus. And then, John, did you bring up, I think I heard it, the 3-and-1 where they tried to throw it instead of passing it?
Yeah, why? It's 3rd and 1. Why are you
ever? When you have Saquon Barkley, why are you ever doing that?
Oh, it was 2nd and 2, and they threw the ball 40 yards down the middle field.
Yep.
Why?
Yep.
It's just sometimes there's a bad play call. With A.J. Brown being out, this team has to be a run-first offense, and it should be a run-first offense because when is Hurts the best? When they're running the football. When a majority of quarterbacks that aren't, besides Patrick Mahomes is one of the few quarterbacks that, he's one of the few guys who's successful without running the football. I mean, even Josh Allen, that's been the Bills' problem for years, why they couldn't get it up. They weren't committed to running the football. And that you got to run, even though it's a passing league, you have to establish the run. Like, no, the team needs to know that you can run the football, and the Eagles can. And you have a guy like Saquon Barkley who can break one at any. You have to commit to that run.
I agree. And you look at two guys, man. Saquon Barkley, 17 carries, 147 yards, 8.6 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. He caught another 4 passes, but they were only for 9 yards. But Dallas Goedert, 10 for 170. Before Devontae gets hurt in the 4th, he was 7 for 79. Overall, Jalen, despite the interception and that fumble, 29 of 38 for 311 yards on offense. John, do you see anything positive, that moving into next week against Tampa, that you're confident Jalen Hurts is going to have a game where he just doesn't have a turnover, because he leads the league in turnovers since last season with 26 of them. So that's not good. It's just not.
I don't know right now. I'm not sure how I feel, but I think it's good to win on that track one like that. It gives the team a ton of confidence, and if you have A.J. Brown come back, that gives him even more confidence knowing he has more weapons. Dallas Goedert had a game, you can rely on him obviously at times. Maybe that gives him another option. Saquon Saquon just being Saquon. That's what gives me the confidence going into next week. But I still don't know. I don't know why we don't get that player all the time. We only get him late in games. I don't know what it is. Maybe that's just how he is. He just he just survives, and he kind of figures out the defense later in the game, and that's how he survives. That's just he sees how they're playing him. But that's what
it shouldn't take that long though.
Some guys, that's what it is. I mean, players have done it for years. There's players who just can come back from behind and win football games. It's just
so,
who they are.
I do want to bring this up, and we shred Nick Sirianni, and it's fair. But I think it's also time to sit here and say, are we happy with the offense that's being called by Kellen Moore through 3 weeks? Brad, I'll start with you. I mean, look, we'll criticize Nick Sirianni, and he deserves it. But Kellen Moore has not necessarily shown, what we thought he was going to show coming into this team.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just early in the season, so he's trying to figure them out still. But I don't think he's doing what he should be. Like, the play calling is kind of questionable.
Yeah.
Especially using Devontae as if he's A.J. Brown. You're just going to get the guy hurt. You're just going to get the guy hurt. And like you saw today, he got destroyed. You can't do that.
John, I'll ask you, man, like, does the offense look that much different than last year to you?
Not much. There's more motion and stuff like that. But we're still trying to force the ball down the field too much.
Yeah.
That's the one issue. But I mean, it's really hard. Everybody's going to get mad at the offense, this, that, the other thing. It's more of situational problems. Like, I'm going to keep saying that. It's situational offense. That's the issue, because you think about probably after this week, they'll be a top 5 offense in yards. I mean, they're already top, 7 going in yards. I mean, they can move the football. They clearly can move the football. They can. The problem is they haven't been great situationally. That's the issue. Situationally, they're making too many turnovers, too many mistakes. You think about 2 interceptions in the end zone. That's right there. You have 2 interceptions in the end zone. That's points off the board. What is it? What are we? Let's get the field goal count. What are we at?
Yeah.
3-4 field goal opportunities that we didn't take the points there. That's 12 more points added to the Eagles, scoring for the season. So it's situationally they're not being very smart. Obviously, it's just that's the issue. I think the talent they're good enough. The talent's around enough that they're going to get the yards. I think they got to be smarter situationally. That's more of the issue we need to where it's not that the offense can't move the football, because they can clearly move the football. They can clearly move the football. They were in the other team in the Saints side of the football. Almost every single drive. How many punts did the Eagles really have? What, 2?
Yeah, 2.
Yeah. 2. Like it's not like they can move the football. It's situationally they're not making the right calls offensively, and I don't know if that's has to do with Nick, butting his ear into it, or is it Kellen Moore just not being smart?
I mean, it has to be Nick also. I mean, you have to help me understand. you try a 60-yard field goal, but you won't take two, basically chip shots early with your defense playing as well as they were. I don't get it. Like that's Sirianni. That's not a Kellen Moore thing. If it is a Kellen Moore thing, then let me know that. Go on a press conference, Nick, and say, yeah, Kellen really thought that this was something. If you look back, I forget who tweeted it out. It might have been Zach Berman, maybe. I can't recall. But every single next-gen stat said that the Eagles' win probability would jump over 8% if they would have taken the points in that first quarter with that field goal kick instead of going for it on fourth down again. So, when you have an offense like what New Orleans does have. So it's the first quarter. You don't know what the rest of the game's going to hold, John and Brad. What you want to put as many points up at the board as you're allowed to. Like that's the problem here. Yes, we get it. It's the end of the game, so we can look back now and say that the Eagles defense held the Saints to 12 points and just 219 total yards. 142 of those coming from Derek Carr. But that's what I mean. In this first quarter, away on the road, you take the points any chance you get. But then you go for a 60-yarder and you give the Saints a chance with good field position. Make any of this
with
make
6
sense,
minutes
please.
left in the game. Like obviously, if you want to make them the way the defense is playing, you put them in, you pin them inside the 10. We're talking about getting the ball back and we're being up, and maybe it's a 7-6 victory at that point. It's not a 15-12 victory. You don't have to put Hurts in. They're putting Hurts in bad situations too, which is not great for your quarterback. I know he prevailed today, but he obviously didn't prevail last week. You put him in a bad situation where he had 37 seconds left to go get a field goal, and that's people are going to credit that he threw a pick. Oh, there's 37 seconds left. Well, that's still 37 seconds left. It's really hard to do something like that. Knowing what's gonna happen.
Right.
Where you have to throw the ball. There's 37 seconds left. When you're, and he's gonna, you have to force the ball when obviously nobody else was getting open yet. Last week, there's Goddard was non-existent. He had 3 catches and one catch. He had 1 catch in the second half. Like he was non-existent. Dotson was non-existent. Paris Campbell, was he rostered last week? I didn't see him a single time last week. Where was he last week?
Yep.
Same thing with Johnny Wilson. He was non-existent last week. He was pretty non-existent besides the one great play.
Also, he also dropped a huge pass.
Yeah, he dropped. Yeah, he dropped
huge pass in the fourth quarter. Yeah,
and they made there was just stupid things being done. It's making Hurts. Oh, he's sitting in the pot. He's holding the ball too long. Is he holding the ball too long, or is he waiting for people to get open down the field because you're just running people down the field? Is that the issue? Because it seems like that's what the issue is. Not that he's holding the ball in too long, because he does say when there's guys open on quick plays, he throws the ball to him right away. But when there's nobody open when everybody else is going down the field, like what is the issue? Why is he at fault for holding the ball too long when there's nobody else open anywhere else because they're all going down the field and they're all covered?
Right. You're spot on. So as we wrap this up, I do know after the game, Saquon said he was happy. He's happy to get a second chance at showing the world everything he really can do. Nick Sirianni says he called the 4th and 1 fake brotherly shove at the end of the first half, not Kellen Moore. So fuck you, Nick Sirianni. You're just such garbage.
Oh wow, Chris cursed on Sunday.
Yeah, I can't. I just can't do it.
He admitted it.
Yeah, but he's been known to take accountability for things, but maybe he just doesn't want Kellen Moore to get smoke.
Well, then, it's your offensive coordinator.
Last week,
if that was Vic Fangio, Vic Fangio would have said that's that guy's fault.
When they try to blame it on Kellen Moore, he got really heated last week. So I think it's Sirianni making some of these calls because it was a weird reaction that he got where like, oh, you guys want to start starting that up, like he got really really defensive there. So it kind of seems like it's more of his decisions at these 4th downs, going for versus kicking field goals.
They're not working.
But why? I just don't get why. There's 14 seconds left. Like why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
If you want to run that, if there's 14 seconds left in the game and they have 1 timeout left, or something along those lines where you have a 60-yard field goal situation and and you're up by a field goal and you want to run that play, I have no problem with that one. It's the fact that it was take the points, 14 seconds left in the half. You get the ball back. You get a little bit of momentum because you finish a drive to get points. It's the situational football.
It still can't. It'll never be explained to me to where it's logical. Saquon got stuff trying to find room around the left end. The Saints got the ball back, and took a knee. And the Eagles go to the locker room without getting a point, and you're down 3-0 going to the half. You kick the field goal there because if you get the first down, the odds are that you're getting more than a field goal anyway is minimal. So you're
not scoring a touchdown. You're almost not scoring a touchdown there.
Right, of course. So then you kick. That's why you kick the ball. So that's what I'm saying. You're taking this 4th down risk for what? Even if you get the first down, you've got 10 seconds left on the 13-yard line, and that's the bullshit of this all. Realistically, the way this game was going, points were at a premium. Like I said earlier to you guys, you take 3, you have something positive heading into the locker room after a miserable offensive first half. And somehow you can go into that locker room tie game and you get the ball back.
And then coming out of the half, you kick that second field goal, and it's a 6-3 ball game. And then when Saquon scores that touchdown, what's the score now? It's a 13-3 ball game,
Right.
And the Saints are playing a completely different game at that point because they're not going to try to run the football anymore. And you can relieve, and obviously he was rattled all day, Carr, with the pressure they were getting. So maybe the Eagles create another turnover. They create a turnover and they get more points, and then it scores. You're looking at it, a 24-3 game at that point, and you put it away early. Sometimes you got to take those points because it's going to put more pressure on that team. Especially last week. Not taking those points last week, say the Falcons can just be like, oh, I'm just going to keep running the football because it's still close. It's not out of hand yet. It's not out of hand yet. You got to, when you're a team that obviously the first 2 weeks struggled running the football, teams are just going to keep running the football against you. So you got to take the points you can so you can prevent them from running the football. Wouldn't that make sense? We really don't know what the secondary is all about because realistically, they're not throwing the football that much against them.
Yeah,
they're really not.
That's their second win since 2007 at the Saints.
Wow, that's huge. Brad, what are your thoughts on Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter?
Jalen Carter specifically Carter, he was an animal today.
He was, yep.
He was throwing people. Jordan Davis, same thing. He was good too. And I think it was Jalen Carter. The ref kept going up to Jalen Carter after the plays, and I don't know what he was saying to him, but
maybe something was going on, but I mean, there's only
I know that
there
was one he got into a little scuffle with the other player.
They say fucked up shit to him, man. They say the opposing teams say fucked up shit to him.
Yeah,
they don't say good things to him.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So and you can see last year he committed a couple penalties. He committed a couple penalties late in the year, but Dallas kicker just hit a 65-yarder.
Wait, he made it?
Yeah, I hear Tim in the background.
Oh my God. So Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter coming into this game, guys, no sacks, no tackles for loss, no pass breakups, no quarterback hits. Just against
Davis had a pass breakup. He had a pass breakup last week in the first
last
half.
week, did he?
Yeah, early.
Okay.
Like, it was like one of the first couple plays of the game. Like
early. I don't remember that.
Or maybe it was week 1, but he had a pass block early.
Okay. So
coming early in the game.
And then after today, 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss, 2 pass breakups, and a quarterback hit. If you're going to be successful this year, guys, those 2 hosses have to be involved like this each and every week. So, John, were you happy or not happy?
I'm thrilled how because
Like
this is what I expected for a guy, and it was really annoying, like because people were really getting on Davis a lot, but because he's not giving pressure that much. But like we're not expecting. When he was drafted, I don't think really anybody was expecting him to be a 5+ sack a year guy. We're hoping to get a couple sacks here, but we're expecting him to take up be a body up there on the pass rush, and because he's a guy who should be able to bully at least one guy. So you have to block him with 2, and then you have Carter on the other side, and then he was there to run stop, and they were avoiding him on rushing downs. They were cutting everything outside the first couple weeks, and it's good to see when they came down to the situation when they put the ball in the middle, he was making the plays, and he was shredding blocks, and he was being the monster that he is. And I said in pregame, like those two they're big, large human beings. They need to be monsters. They have the athleticism. We saw it from both of them at the combine. They have the athleticism. They have the strength. They just need to put it on the field, and they just weren't doing it the first 2 weeks, And Carter was doing it for the first half of the season last year, and Davis was doing it at times last year, but he was just so out of shape. Those two just need to be in shape and be on the field and be ready and give it their all the time like they did today. And this Eagles defensive line is going to be a lot better. I'm not sure about the edge rushers really yet. I mean, Brandon Graham's really the only guy really, and Sweat was better. Sweat was better today, but Brandon Graham's really the only guy really giving you much. I mean, I didn't say it though, but I was like, where is Bryce Huff out there? I didn't see him anywhere. I didn't see him at all.
Yeah, Bryce Huff needs to be cut yesterday. He's just what an awful signing by Howie Roseman, and that was one of those guys where, again, I'm going to give credit for it every week until the guy absolutely does anything, and that's John did say this wasn't as good of a signing as we all thought it was in the beginning, but another week where he's done absolutely nothing.
Does he even have a tackle?
No. I think he had a half a tackle and it was taken away from him last week. So he's nothing on the scorecard at all. Before we get out of here, guys, again, the Eagles win this game 15-12. If you're watching us live on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for notifications when we go live or any kind of show pops up here. Your star of the game, John?
Dallas Goedert, obviously, he has to be the guy. I mean, other than that, it would be probably Jalen Carter, I would think would be the other guy I would put there, but it has to be Goddard. 10 receptions for 170 yards. Had an absolute career day. I don't know if he's ever had 10 receptions before. I know he's never had 170 yards receiving. So he had an absolute career day. He was the star of the show. He's somebody that I was starting to question, like, is he really the guy we think he is? Is he really the tight end we think he is? Because he wasn't
right.
Besides the one year he had a really good year, A.J. Brown wasn't there, and the other year he had a really good year was 22. But hasn't done much for the Eagles besides being 400 or 500 yard receiver or being hurt at times. So I'm starting to wonder, is he really the guy? And they game plan to get him the football, and especially when Smith came out, he was huge for them.
I'm gonna go with Saquon. That 65-yard touchdown woke the team up.
I forgot about that.
I could pretty much give it to Saquon every week at this point. But that 65-yarder just broke the game open, and that really woke the Eagles up. I'm telling you right now, John, I don't think he's ran that fast since Penn State. Like he has. I don't think he's ever seen
holes.
Man.
I don't think he's seen holes like this since Penn State. Like the holes that he gets with this team, sometimes you see him, dude. You're like, oh, he has nothing, and then something opens up, and he's freaking gone. That's what the best part about him is. Sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. Brad, who's your star of the game?
It's gonna be Saquon until he slows down.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, he's unbelievable. This dude, I mean, he's probably the best player in football right now. Overall, what he's done. So yeah, Eagles get just a huge win. I was completely wrong with how this game went. I mean, most people were. But I'm happy to be wrong about something like this. The Eagles were resilient. They found a way to win. It was ugly, but they went into a hostile crowd in New Orleans, and they get to win 15-12. Next week, they are in Tampa Bay against the Buccaneers for a 1:00 game against the now 2-1 Bucs, who got destroyed today by the Denver Broncos at home. So looking forward to next week. All right, guys, we'll have a pregame show for you guys next Sunday prior to the game. And then, as always, we'll be here for a postgame show. Hopefully after another Eagles win. So we'll talk about that, obviously, next weekend. But until that, I'm Chris DiFrancesco. That's Johnny Mack and Brad DiFrancesco. Thank you guys so much. Just a huge win for the Eagles. And hopefully we can get some positive reports regarding all these injuries that happened today. So we'll see. So other than that, everybody have a great end to your weekend and a great next week as well. And we'll catch you guys down the road. Have a good one, everybody.